Good afternoon, and I'd like to say a big thank you to Mike and Sue at Everything Dinosaur for getting this rather substantial parcel out to me so rapidly, and I'm going to open this up for you now. I know what's in it, but of course it's something that will be revealed. And there's a few figures in here which here in the UK and Europe we've been waiting for quite a while. So I've got my trusty box cutter here, courtesy of a good friend of mine. I'd also like to say a big hello to Sonny and Annabelle, who I know will watch this, and also to my workmate Beth, and also Graham and Finn, who I know will watch this also. So let's see what we've got for you. Let's hope you'll enjoy this. Quite a big box, I must say. Obviously this has come from Everything Dinosaur, but managed to get to me incredibly quickly. Everything beautifully packed, as usual. So the first one we've got is this little package here, which is the Dilophosaurus pair from How Long Good. Now we've been waiting a long time for some of these How Long Good figures to come into Everything Dinosaur, so I'll pop these open for you now. All these How Long Good figures are roughly in scale with each other, so with the rate they're producing models at, they're filling huge gaps in a lot of people's collections. I've been really looking forward to this Dilophosaurus pair because they seem to be the most up-to-date ones that we've got yet as collectors, because there really is a dearth of decent Dilophosaurus figures out there. Now I know these ones haven't got the reptilian lips that, you know, these dinosaurs are quite often depicted as having these days. It's something to do with the size of them, and actually, just popping out the box here, it's a little bit larger than expected. Sometimes I find judging how large a figure is from the measurements on the box a little bit tricky compared to the reality when you have them in hand. And these figures aren't particularly cheap, but they are very, very high quality. And yes, I mean the shape of the crests here and everything, that's just absolutely beautiful. So there's two variants in the colours of these models, and I've gone for the more red hued figures. And these are just from like an initial impression are just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely delighted with these. So you get two, you get one standing and one in a sitting pose in your parcel, and already looking at these, the sculpt on these and everything is absolutely gorgeous, the coloration. So I don't know if you can see this, but one of them's got slightly brighter crests than the other, so you could almost have a pair here. Of course there's no real examples of dimorphism known in dinosaurs, they're unusual in that regard. It looks as though the sitting one is slightly larger and slightly brighter in this case than the standing one. But these are absolutely stunning little figures. Absolutely over the moon with those. And I got these as the sides to the main star of the show, which is a figure I've been greatly anticipating. So this is one of the beasts of the Mesozoic, and this is like Gorgosaurus libratus. I'm not entirely sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So these are such classy figures. I mean, they really are something else. Yes, they do have a sort of action figure aesthetic. I'm not too bothered about that, you know, in terms of their proportions and the design and everything. I mean, Creative Beast Studio really do go above and beyond. Since David Silver started Creative Beast Studio, they've gone from strength to strength. He now collaborates with so many other artists, paleoartists and paleontologists and members of the community who really know what they're talking about. And he's also got his own channel as well. Actually, Everything Dinosaur have got their own YouTube channel, so it's definitely worth checking them out. I can't wait to get this out of the package and have a look. As with all beasts of the Mesozoic, comes obviously a background to the figure as well, which you can set out with diorama if you wish to. That's this component here. It's not something I do particularly, but it's a really nice thing to include in the package. You know, these are a real sort of premium figure, so you've got this clamshell packaging. See how easy she is to get out of here and how easy it is to actually change feet and legs and things here, because they're normally a bit of a nightmare. When it comes to Dilophosaurus, it's a strangely overlooked genus, I think. I think it's, you know, the first really well-known large sort of Jurassic dinosaurian predator, and decent figures are few and far between. So here we have the articulated legs, you get changeable legs for the Gorgosaurus, and of course you can change the feet on these as well. The tail and the base. I tend to find the bases of the beasts of the Mesozoic a bit more of a miss than hips, to be honest. I don't tend to use them. That's the figure herself is well strapped in here. So let's see if I can get her out. I'm not too bothered about the action figure type of aesthetic of these, because I like to pair them with my Star Wars figures, the vintage collection Star Wars figures. As sad as almost anything we can do, but it's me. Very, very well packaged here, as Beasts of the Mesozoic always are. Now, I know that Beasts of the Mesozoic really are going from strength to strength when it comes to the accuracy and articulation of the figures. I'm just going to pop the video off a second until I can get this figure untangled from its packaging, because it's really well packed in here. So I shall be back in a minute. Okay, so I managed to liberate the Gorgosaurus and all the bits from the packaging. So you get different sets of feet with the Gorgosaurus for posing it, you know, as if it's running or walking, or the foot lifted off the ground. Of course you get the tail to attach, and you get lower legs which are fully articulated. So checking the flexibility of these straight out of the box, it's not too bad. I think there's a bit of stiffness in this ankle, so that means you have to apply a bit of hot water to loosen things up. So here we are with the right leg. It's proven to be a wee bit tight at the ankle. There's a bit of movement at the knee joint. Of course you don't want to push these too far, although they are pretty substantial joints, as you can see. So here we are with the left leg, and yes, that's going to take a fair bit of warmth to shift things along a bit as well. Again, a little bit of movement in the knee joint here. So tail, 3 points of articulation once it's attached, including the base here. Attaches simply with a ball and socket at the bottom, and as you can see there's movement on that. So you get movement on the tail here, and you get movement at this point as well. Historically these are quite tricky to attach. I took some effort with the T-Rex, if you've ever seen that video. I think I'd rather forget that one. So let's see if we can get this on here. Oh dearie me. Yes, that's quite tough. Should have got Alan in. He popped in a second ago when I was busy liberating the Gorgosaurus from the box to admire the Dilophosaurus pair. I can't get him to appear in the video, I'm afraid. Dearie me, you'll hear how stiff that is, which is a good thing, ultimately, as it means it won't pop out if you can get it on in the first place. So yes, that's going to be a hot water job. In terms of the rest of the articulation of this figure thus far out of the box, of course it comes with the standard lower legs on, and these lower legs don't have any articulation at all. These are purely for posing, so they've got a foot peg hole in the bottom. Let's see if we can shift these. Oh. Yes, there's movement in that leg already, you can see, and in the opposing leg as well. So you get a bit of movement at the hips here, you get movement at the knees, you get rotation there, as well as the flexibility. Lots of movement of the leg backwards and forwards. It's on both sides. There is more movement in these than you might expect in terms of what you can get away with moving the limbs, because they're all these sort of ball and socket joints. Midsection on this one is a little tight so far. Let's see if there's any movement on the neck. This is all good because it means that this figure will stand beautifully and remain balanced and posed once I've got it ready to rock. So, fantastic movement on the jaws there, straight away. Absolutely beautiful looking figure this is. I mean, this blue shows up really, really well in the daylight here, and the patterning and the scale detail on the flanks here. It's just absolutely fantastic the way, you know, you've got a sort of paler underside and it blends up into like a darker brown, which really shows off this blue. This blue kind of counters because the blue runs down the sides and becomes slightly paler. So as the beige to brown is getting darker, the further up it goes, the blue is getting lighter, and what a beautiful contrast that makes. This really is a beautifully designed figure, especially these sort of gold patches along the head. There's a little bit of gold, I suppose, in these flanks as well there. Absolutely fabulous. So they carry that theme across with the coloration of the claws. As you can see, these tiny little wrists are fully articulated and they rotate as well. So you can basically put this dinosaur in any pose you want. There's a lot of movement on the neck here as well. There's a lot more motion, I find, in these than there is in the earlier ones. They really do just keep going from strength to strength when it comes to sorting out the articulation on their figures. I mean, I have the big Rex, and that is probably my favourite dinosaur toy figure of all time. But it is admittedly very difficult to pose and to hold. You see that fits really nicely on the base there. There's a slight discrepancy with mine in that the feet are kicked out slightly, but again, a bit of hot water should fix that. The whole figure came out of the packaging very easily. There was no fighting with the clamshell packaging to pop anything out, which was really good to, nice and easy, you know, quick to get your figure out, because you want to get your figures out once you've got them in your hands. You don't want to be sitting fighting with plastic to get them out of the box. So it was beautifully packaged but not overly stuck, as it were. Base is really, really nice. I don't tend to use the bases so much because I like them to have the articulated lower legs on and swap the feet around, but it is a really nice base, and as you can see there's a connector here as well, so you can probably attach it to other bases further down the line. I know that the Cyberzoic dinosaurs and other creatures are going to have a slightly different shape of stand, which will slide so you can pose them leaning forward slightly more easily than just having them standing on the base, and I think that's a really good innovation, and I'm really looking forward to those Cyberzoic figures as well. So, back to this little Dilophosaurus pair. This is slightly reminiscent of the Papo one, but that's where any similarity to the Papo figure ends. These are very anatomically correct. I love the thickness of the tail on this one that's sitting. It's got a lovely long thick tail which tapers off beautifully here. It's got lovely bulk, this one. It's a bit like, you know, sometimes the female birds are larger than the males, and I think this is kind of maybe what they were going for here. Of course there's no lips, but that really doesn't detract from the figure at all. It's actually a really cute looking little figure, and the skin detailing is absolutely exquisite, and the coloration here as well. A lot of subtle tones and colours in here. I'd honestly say they're worth every penny. When you look at the detail, the keratinous detail on the crests here, and that lovely bright blue eye. Of course it's matched in that regard by the one who's standing. So the colours on this one aren't quite as bright, and the crests are slightly different in their form as well. You can see they're a little bit more sort of weathered looking, a little bit more chipped looking. So they're very much based on the latest research that came out about Dilophosaurus, and I mean, if they've managed to impress Alan, that's pretty amazing actually. So thank you very much for tuning in and watching, you know, middle-aged grey-haired fat woman blather on about toy dinosaurs. I'm always very grateful that anybody bothers to watch it at all. Why you do, I do not know, but as long as you enjoy it, that's the main thing. So hopefully I shall see you all in the next video.